Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gina Marie Agderian. I am the author of The Letters in the Old House, available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. I will have a link to purchase the book in the description below. So today is another episode of Book Talk. This is a series where I talk about a book that I recently read, what I liked, what I didn't like, and ultimately help you determine if you might like to read this book. So today we are talking about The Good Part by Sophie Cousens, and this book right off the bat gets a 4.5 out of 5, and I'll round it up to a 5 just for the sake of good reads. I really enjoyed this book. It was a pleasant surprise, and I honestly really just thought it was going to be a fun, kind of cutesy, what I call palate cleanser book, meaning a book that I read in between two heavier books or just right after a heavier book. But not that this was heavy, but it was definitely thought-provoking, this book, which I really enjoyed and appreciated, but it did it in a way where it didn't feel so heavy and so emotionally draining. So basically what the book is about is a woman who is 26 years old. She's living in London and she is British. So the author, I believe, is British as well. And she's living in London and she's just stuck. She's in a job that she feels underpaid, underappreciated in. She's going on dates with all these terrible guys. She's sharing an apartment with a bunch of different people. Her best friend is one of them and she's moving out. And she really just feels stuck in her life. Like when am I gonna get to the good part of my life? And that's why it's called The Good Part. So she is down on her luck, just feeling terrible about her life. So she goes into this, I guess it's like a newsstand. There was a word for it, I can't remember. I guess it's a British term, which I'm assuming is kind of like a newsstand or a bodega if you're from the city, in New York City. And she sees this wishing machine, and there's of course a quirky little lady there, and she's like, oh, make a wish, you know, be careful what you wish for. So Lucy goes into this, makes a wish with this wishing machine, and she's like, I wish I could just get to the good part of my life. Now, if this sounds a little familiar, if you've seen the movie Big with Tom Hanks, it's somewhat similar because that character wishes that he was big, an adult. So this is a little bit different because she is already an adult, and she's just wishing to get to the part of her life where she's settled. So she wakes up and she's in her early 40s. She has 2 kids and a husband. And it is just interesting because unlike Big, where he just turns big, if you've seen the movie Big, where he turns big and he's an adult and he's just kind of living his life and it's more of a comedy than anything else. This actually explores the idea of her missing 16 years of her life. So she has no memories of her life. She has no memories of meeting her husband. In fact, she doesn't even recognize her husband or her kids when she wakes up as a woman in her early 40s. So there are a lot of things that she misses, and while she lives in a beautiful home, she has a great husband, great kids, a great job, like her dream job, she missed all of the in-between stuff. And I think the moral of this book is it's about the journey, not the destination. I did not in any way feel that this was super predictable. As I was reading it, I was trying to gauge where it was going to go. And I don't really think that the author alluded one way or the other to where it was ultimately going to end up and how the book was going to end. So I really enjoyed that part of it, because it's always kind of a bummer when you read something and you can kind of see where it's going and you get to the end and you're just like, okay, I predicted the end. But I don't think that this book really does that, which is nice. So a lot of thought-provoking stuff in here, a lot of things that really made me think, again, which I was pleasantly surprised about, especially given the cover. It's kind of, again, like a fun, quick read kind of cover, but really made me think. And nothing in here that was, if you're not into spicy stuff like between her and her husband, there's really none of that. Little bit, but nothing like super crazy. So I highly recommend this book. It is a really fun read and does make you think a little bit. So The Good Part by Sophie Cousens. Let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this book or if you plan to read this book. And as always, guys, happy reading.